Things are looking increasingly dire for Speaker of the House wannabe Kevin McCarthy. We're going to take a look at the latest vote count for McCarthy. We're going to see what Republican commentators have to say about it. And make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video when I'll give you 5 things to look out for as Congress convenes to choose the next Speaker of the House. You're not going to want to miss this. On the morning of his vote to be Speaker, the number of allies for Kevin McCarthy is indeed growing thin. On Tuesday, January 3rd, around noon, Congress will meet in session to vote for the Speaker of the House, and McCarthy will need 218 of the 222 Republican congressmen and women to vote for him, as he will not be Speaker. And to give you a sense of the mood among many Republicans, here's Ultra MAGA firebrand Matt Gaetz after he came out of a meeting with McCarthy.
A brief and productive discussion.
How was it productive?
Insofar as that it was brief.
Can you elaborate a bit more?
I could.
I mean, has he won your support yet, Congressman?
No.
Why not?
I think I've laid that out extensively. I'll tell you what, I'll send you the speech I gave at Turning Point. I was able to extend my remarks there a little further.
But I'm just curious, when you say productive, it didn't nudge you a bit toward yes?
It was brief and productive.
That's a different tone than you've struck before.
Thanks for noticing.
So is he giving into your demands?
It was a brief and productive discussion.
You might vote for him tomorrow?
You're not ruining. Is it fair to say you're not ruining?
I'm a no.
You're a no.
So as you can see there, Gaetz is a hard no, and he's hardly alone. Upwards of a dozen Republicans are reportedly ready to shoot down McCarthy's now second attempt at becoming Speaker. Remember back in 2015 when John Boehner was forced to resign because he was such a pathetic rhino sellout. McCarthy made his move to become Speaker, only he had to withdraw because of the Tea Party populists in the Freedom Caucus and their threats to turn him down. They saw him as John Boehner Part 2, and so they went with a so-called consensus Speaker, which is, of course, was Paul Ryan, who was a disaster. But now McCarthy is staring down the barrel of yet another defeat, which former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich is warning could have disastrous consequences if the 5 overt Republican holdouts like Matt Gaetz get their way.
They gained seats in 22. He was the singularly most active, best fundraiser, biggest campaigner. I thought at least the House was going to be a sign of stability. And these 5 guys decided to go out as kamikazes and see if they can't sink the whole Republican Party. And that's what they're doing. This is not about Kevin McCarthy. This is about the right of any 5 members to basically throw away the entire rest of the conference and tell the rest of the conference it doesn't matter.
Why would they do that?
Between them and the conference.
Newt, that makes absolutely no. Why would they do it?
I think it's a psychological problem. These guys can't count straight. They can't play tic-tac-toe. They can't accept victory. I mean, this is a moment where the Freedom Caucus could claim victory and conservatives could claim victory. You're going to have, given what McConnell's been doing in the Senate, McCarthy is the only hope for conservatism in Washington right now, and to undermine him, I think, is to undermine conservatism, undermine the Republican Party, and frankly, undermine the country.
Well, listen, just in the...
Now, I don't know what Newt is talking about there, to be honest with you. McCarthy is the single greatest hope for conservatism today? I mean, my heavens. I don't think scarier words have ever been uttered. And again, we have to remember that McCarthy, as well as McConnell, did everything they could to make sure that ultra MAGA candidates did not win. They hate Trump, and they hate the ultra MAGA grassroots. Do I really have to remind anyone of what McCarthy said right after J6?
That doesn't mean the president is free from fault. The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding. These facts require immediate action by President Trump. Accept his share of responsibility, quell the brewing unrest, and ensure President-elect Biden is able to successfully begin his term.
He bought into the left-wing Democrat narrative hook, line, and sinker. He blamed Trump for J6. We now know via the newly released audio recordings that McCarthy wanted Trump to resign. I mean, the whole point here is that this guy is as establishment as they come. McCarthy is the permanent political class. Age him 30 years and he'd be exactly the same as the turtle McConnell. He's just McConnell a couple of decades behind. So I don't blame the 5 to 12 Republican holdouts here. I think Newt is way off on all this. That said, what I want to give you is 5 things to look for throughout the day to measure how things are going for the election of the next Speaker of the House. But first, gang, click on that link below and protect yourself and your loved ones from our corrupt cartel by protecting your assets with the timeless value of gold and silver. You know, patriots over the centuries have always relied on gold and silver to protect their assets during economic storms. And that's where the amazing patriots over at Goldco come in. If you've got $50,000 or more in an IRA, 401k, or savings account, you need to protect those assets from bumbling Biden's insanity with the timeless value of gold and silver. Click on that link below and talk to our good friends over at Goldco. They're patriots just like us, and they want you to succeed so much, gang. They're offering you up to, get this, $10,000 in free silver if you open up an account with them. Isn't that amazing? But this is a limited time offer, so don't wait. Click on that link below or visit my special website, turleytalkslikesgold.com. Here are 5 things to watch out for as the House Speaker election convenes. Number 1, McCarthy is promising to hold as many votes as needed until he wins. This is not a one and done vote here, gang. There could be several rounds of voting to win the Speaker's gavel. Nancy Pelosi had to go through several back in 2018. So that's not unusual. And McCarthy's already saying, look, we're going to do this as many times as we have to. And frankly, guys, I'll make all the concessions I need to make throughout the process just to get everybody on board. So keep an eye on how many rounds of votes are needed, because you can be sure that with every round, another concession has been made. And that leads to the second thing to watch out for. Number 2, keep an eye on the concessions that are being made. One of the big concessions that McCarthy's had to agree to is reducing the required number of votes to call a floor vote to vote on the sitting House Speaker. And that's, this is the way the ultra MAGA faithful are going to try to keep McCarthy honest. If he betrays them, if he goes full Mitch McConnell or Mittens Romney, they want to make it much easier to oust him from the speakership. So keep an eye on how many rounds of votes that are needed, and keep an eye on the concessions that McCarthy is making that'll hold him more accountable to his promises. Number 3, keep an eye on the 5 Republicans who are dead set against voting for him. Now, while there are upwards of a dozen Republicans who said they'll vote against McCarthy, at least in the first round or 2 of votes, Gingrich made reference to the 5 who've pledged they won't support McCarthy at any point. That list includes Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona, Matt Gaetz of Florida, of course, Bob Good, Virginia, Ralph Norman of South Carolina, and Matt Rosendale of Montana. If at any point in the rounds of voting, any one of these guys breaks, it's over. McCarthy's got it, which of course harkens back to number 2. What concessions did McCarthy make to get that vote? Number 4, you should know, most pundits do believe McCarthy's going to pull this off. So going back to point number 1, it doesn't matter how many rounds of votes it takes. Supporters for McCarthy are determined to get him into the speakership. And finally, number 5, buckle up. This could take weeks. Again, we'll have to see how things play out today, but we could conceivably be going into the month of February without a speaker. So we'll obviously be keeping an eye on how things develop here. And let us know what you think in the comments below. And of course, as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. And you definitely want to check out my latest video on Kari Lake absolutely surging as efforts to impeach Katie Hobbs have already begun. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on that link and I'll see you over there. God bless.